No, if they were to portray a person like me, a gamer, I would be seen as this, like, a person leaning back in my chair. The World of Warcraft guy. The World of Warcraft guy in the South Park episode is a wonderful example of a stereotypical male gamer. I'm fat, I have a neck beard, I drink Mountain Dew, I have Cheetos spread across my desk, I wear a wrist brace, and I'm sitting here gaming like this, spewing off unintelligent, uneducated remarks about how much I hate women and how much I hate feminism. And men are very much so, just like women, presented in a stereotypical way. If you were to flip open a comic book, chances are you're going to see men with bulging muscles fighting supervillains, or typical maniacal evil men that are controlling and seek to control women in a very real way. We have, or like they're villains. There's a lot of men, a lot of antagonists are dominant male figures. They're called mustache twirlers for a reason. A mustache twirling villain. That is why you see examples of, say, stereotypes perpetuating against men in these industries as well, whether it be comic books, movies, or villains. So men are often seen as the bad guy, and it's alleged that if a females as bad people aren't actually smart or intelligent or strong or powerful, they're just really manipulative, and they just manipulate men for whatever their aims are, which I don't really buy into. So we've kind of talked about like how these gender stereotypes play in. We're seen as aggressive. We're seen as overly confident. We're seen as we have ripped abs and we have long legs. We're tall. We're stocky. We're big. We're really brave. We're super brave. We fear nothing. You can see examples of this in any Street Fighter game you pick up. Bulging men. Have you guys heard of Hot Ryu? Hot Ryu apparently is a new thing. In the new Street Fighter, he has like a beard, an overgrown beard, and he's like kind of scruffy looking, and he's got his stuff is like torn, and he's like super muscly, and he's getting ready to fight and stuff like that. And so you'll see an example of Hot Ryu, of a typical male stereotype of a man that's super buff and ripped and handsome. He's got a beard. Now we're being portrayed as facial hair. Is that true? Do all men have facial hair? No. Are you starting to see a lot more media of men capitalizing on men with facial hair? I think so. You're seeing a lot more media that portrays men. Like just here on Twitch, you'll see a lot of dudes with beards, and there's this beard thing. There's beard. I bought today. Or not today, but yesterday or 2 days ago, I bought beard oil for my beard. Like just beards, this masculinity is becoming more stereotypes. So you're seeing stereotypes being perpetuated against men. And I'm not saying it's women perpetuating against men. It might just be men reinforcing their own behavior, but it's coming off. And then the male antagonists are seen as violent, maniacal, brutish, evil, manipulative. No, nobody's called in yet, much to my chagrin. I really wish someone would call in. It would be really nice to have a conversation. No, Vince, I'm not saying beard oil. I'm not saying that beard oil is sexist or stereotypical. What I'm saying is you're seeing reinforcements of that. I am an example of that reinforcement. That behavior of purchasing conditioner for my beard, which actually does feel really nice, by the way, when I put it in. You're seeing reinforcement for that behavior. Am I perpetuating a stereotype of men with facial hair because that is becoming a popular theme now? You can argue that. Maybe. Okay, so we've kind of seen how... so we talked about how mustache twirlers are predominantly men. Most of the video game... not video games, but a lot of the villains and... the media are portrayed as men. They're violent individuals. As I said, the confidence. They're insane. They don't have much depth. They're very one-dimensional people that are just evil for evil's sake, that want to kill everybody and everything. They're brutish and evil. They don't have a lot of tormented qualities about him. Like the Phantom of the Opera is a really good example of a villain who is actually more of like a tragic villain. You empathized with him on a lot of levels. Frankenstein, the monster, is an example of someone that you can empathize with, even though he's the main antagonist. That's more, they've humanized these characters, and they're not so one-dimensional like you would see in a lot of other stereotypical ways. So you have that. You also have examples of that being, let's do the Emperor Palpatine is a very one-dimensional, stereotypical example of an evil bad guy, mustache-swirling bad guy. You have Darth Vader, who is much more humanized and has, like, he was someone who was part of the light side and then was seduced by the darkness. So his character has a little more depth to them. So you have examples of people breaking the stereotype and people who don't. And again, reason why I'm saying this, we're going to get into that later. How does that portray to sensitive dudes, though? Are there stereotypes against sensitive males in the media? I would say so. Sensitive males are not seen as confident. They're seen as, like, typically they're portrayed as they have acne on their face, they have buck teeth, they're kind of like, they're scared, they're not as aggressive, they don't get the girl, nice guys finish last kind of thing. 16 Candles was one of the very few instances where it seemed like this really nerdy guy kind of scored, which was nice. But then you have another movie, like John Hughes movie, like Ducky, who is the friend. He's the sensitive friend of Molly Ringwald, and he gets friend zoned while the hot jock dude gets the really cool girl, gets the girl the girl next door that everybody likes. Okay, so you see, and Dawson's Creek is another example of Pacey, who is much more archetypical, stereotypical male than Dawson, who portrays his sad face crying, who is comically seen. James Van Der Beek is commonly seen as like this kind of this lovable goober. He doesn't have a lot of luck with the ladies. I mean, he doesn't really like. I guess he kind of scores, but he doesn't. They're always like I said, the stereotype is that they finish last. So you see examples of that perpetrating these characters. Shadow Liz, thank you so much for the host. What's up, man? So that's an example of how some of those examples of how that affects men. We talked about so men are expected to be. Let's kind of like recap. On these stereotypes and these over sexualizations. We're expected to be aggressive, confident, handsome, edgy, handy, and successful. Let's not forget successful. Smart, charming, and funny. Because if you don't, God forbid, you're a little bit clumsy. God forbid you're not the sharpest tool in the shed. God forbid you're not as funny. Your jokes might not be well timed. God forbid you have financial troubles. And if you have financial troubles, if you live at home, you live with roommates, that is not seen as something that a female want. Is that sexist against men? All in the eye of the beholder. Could it be? I don't know. It's kind of like it's up to interpretation. I think those can be examples of gender stereotypes that affect men. That affect the way men and women relate to each other, because women and men have been conditioned to think and view people of the opposite sex and of the same sex in a very specific way. There's a reason why those stereotypes exist, and we'll get into that on our critical analysis again. Okay, so really quickly, we're going to go over harassment for how it affects males. We talked about harassment in the industry and how it affects females. I'm sure if you're a male caster, there are chances are that you've experienced some form of harassment. It is very, very likely that somebody has experienced harassment before, and in our very community. So it is not limited towards females. I myself have been a victim of harassment, with people saying a lot of throwing a lot of allegations or very harassing remarks, disparaging remarks, sexually offensive remarks, things saying I'm going to come over there and do all these alleged sexual activities to my face, to the rest of my body, to my family, to my father, to my brothers, to my dog, and then they were going to murder me. So you'll see all those kind of harassments on there. I've been a personal recipient, so I can personally attest to the harassment that pertains towards males. Those of you who have followed the stream regularly know that we have recently, luckily, this person has kind of died down on harassing us. We have an individual who makes offensive usernames and follows repeatedly just to generate controversy, just to get a rise out of me and of everybody else in the stream, just to hear the alert go off and to see an inappropriate name flash across the stream. And then going back to the Gamergate controversy, there were people on the pro Gamergate side, and I want to show you that. Welcome back, Kai. I'm just going to call you Gears of Kai from now on, because I can't remember all of your different names. You know, when you first started going by your original name, you wanted to go by your original name, and now you don't. So it's tough, dude. It's tough. Let's see. Let me find this article. Here we go. So I have this article here. This is a forum of a compiled form of evidence. All these are two links, and some of them are broken and don't work. But this is a harassment forum which has documented the harassment that members of Gamerbait. Welcome back, Vermo. We were talking about male gender stereotypes, and we were talking about how they affect men, and how gender stereotypes and how objectification of men have occurred in the media. And we talked about Magic Mike, we talked about 50 Shades of Grey, and now we're talking about harassment towards males. Gears of K. Gears of K. People think, oh, it's that guy. It's funny, but if someone says it to a female, oh my gosh, my bad. Wait, what do you mean, Shadow Liz? Can you elaborate on that? You're kind of dying here. What are you dying about, Mike? So this is a list of compiled harassments of people harassing pro Gamergate people. So allegedly, people on both sides of this issue that were supposedly Gamergate is supposed to be is stereotypically alleged to be this predominantly white male activist group that specifically targets females and hates on females and is in the business of promoting misogyny in the media and tearing down females in the media. But that provided a very real example of how anti-Gamergate people provided many different, like all of those things were like screen caps and stuff like that. I don't need to go through each one. I provided a link so you guys can explore it yourselves if you have time. Of how people on the opposite side of the field have been harassed, men and women. So that stereotype might not be necessarily true, and now it's affected both men and women. So we kind of gone over the ways that can happen. Now I want to get into the critical analysis of this issue and whether or not this is actually true. Whether or not there is a societal, an ongoing oppressive societal, a perpetual ongoing societal epidemic of male suppressing female voices, of male dominated sexism against females. Let's kind of talk about that. I want to, in a very real way. The reason why I even did it, and right off the bat, the reason why I did a whole male section of ways that males are gender stereotypes and portrayed and stuff like that, I wanted to show that it extends to both sides, to show that right off the bat, it's not. It is very narrow-minded to think that this is the only kind of sexism that exists, and how it can affect both males and females. Now, we heard a lot about the damsel in distress trope and about how women are helpless victims in a lot of these roles, and they're not heroes in their own right. They're not archetypical heroes. And I compiled just a small list of some people who in a very real way are their own heroes of their own stories, and they represent strong female leads. Okay, so while many stereotypes do exist,